What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about a film that I've mentioned briefly on this channel and that I made some custom minifigures based off of on my Instagram page, and that film is The Old Guard. Now, this is a 2020 comic book movie. I believe it's based on a comic book, and it's a Netflix original. It's on Netflix right now. You can watch it at your own leisure, and I just wanted to make a video on this because I feel like I've seen no one talking about it, barely anyone talking about it, and it's something that it's a film that I believe deserves a lot more attention than it's currently getting, because I honestly think this is like one of the better movies released recently, like in the past couple years, and it's one of the better movies, or better comic book movies released in recent years. It's better than a majority of the Marvel and DC things. I think the only thing that really rivals it is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which just ended recently, and I think that show's great. But other than that, I think that this is a really solid comic book movie if you didn't know what the plot of, or just a solid movie in general. If you don't know what the general concept of it is, there is this group of immortal beings, basically. They can never die, so if you freaking kill them, they'll just heal. They can never die. And, they're basically kind of on the run, trying to live in today's society. There's Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter, who is playing this scientist character, trying to hunt them down and experiment on them to try and cure disease, I guess, or something like that. And they find this new black girl, Nile, who joins the group, and she kind of becomes the secondary protagonist to Andy, played by Charlize Theron. And they basically just kind of go around on their adventures, and they're kind of trying to live their life in modern society. And there's a lot of interesting themes explored in the film, about life and death, and how a lot of people in the world think of immortality as this great gift, right? And it's I think someone in the movie even says that. But it's the characters in the film, they're all these immortal god people. Charlize Theron is the oldest one. She's been around for millennia, and all these characters, they know that whatever this weird misconception about immortality isn't true. They feel their lives have been shitty. But then they also don't really value, in ways, because they consider their lives to be so crappy, right? They kind of, I'm going to try and keep this to be minimal spoilers. I may hint at things, but I'm not going to try and spoil anything specifically. But there's a lot of interesting themes explored about valuing the time that you have while you're living, and but also what really is the value to immortality if you outlive everyone you care about, and everyone you care about just dies, there's so many interesting concepts explored in this film, and I really liked the way they did that. I also just liked the way it was paced. It was an interesting concept, an interesting story to go for. The plot is kind of conventional in the sense, okay, there are these special people, and you've got kind of slimy, mustache-twirling businessman guy who wants to take advantage of their abilities for his own, financial gain or whatever for his company. That's kind of conventional in a certain sense, but I really liked the way the story was paced out. It felt like they introduced the characters well enough, and what they were afraid of, the things that they cared about, and what was at stake for them personally. And I kind of liked that you got kind of this window to them through this character, Nile, who's introduced as this, I believe, a Marine, right? So it's just a very interesting plot, and I feel like it paced itself well enough so that you could care about all the characters inside of it. And it also just does a better job of all the things that I've complained about in recent DC and Marvel movies, the over-sexualization of women characters. Marvel likes to act like they're being progressive by putting women in the leads, or especially black women in the leads. They had Monica Rambeau, who was a black woman, as one of the lead characters in WandaVision, but then they had to put her in a weird sexy costume that undermines what they're trying to do by being progressive. They're also taking like 2 steps back by putting her in that type of costume. Here we have one of our main leads is a black woman, and they don't have like weird sexy model costumes. Like they're dressed like normal people. They're like immortal people kind of on the run. They dress like they have like jeans and like coats and shirts. Like they don't have like weird crazy costumes that are like revealing, and like they aren't like supermodels. Like I really appreciate that, but like I could relate to them and I could kind of feel them on a human level in that regard. Then also they actually do have like proper representation. There's a gay couple in the film, Joe and Nikki. They're like kind of 2 of the main characters of the main group, and they have this like really strong bond. And like my best friend recommended this movie to me, and she's gay, and like she loves that. Like she loves this movie so much, and I don't think I'll ever be like able to love this movie as much as she does. She's like the biggest super fan of this movie on the planet, but she just like really loves that they actually had proper gay representation in here, and it's not just like a one-line endgame thing where Joe Russo is like, hey, I'm gay, and like he doesn't even say that. He just says, oh, I kissed some guy, and they could literally just change the line to be like, I kissed some girl or something like that. It's like a one-line thing you could change, and I think that they did change in some countries because people found it offensive or something. But here, they're an integral part of the story, and you couldn't have the movie without them unless you just remove them from the film entirely, because they're very openly gay, and they have like this really great speech towards the middle point of the film that is just really moving, and kind of is like what it means to be like a gay person, and like kind of the discrimination that they face, but they're also like you need to be accepting of that fact. Like it's a really poignant scene, and it's just everything that Marvel is cowardly to do. This movie just does it all, and it doesn't take 10 steps back while trying to be progressive. It just goes for those things, and it hits the mark. I think it hits the nail right on the head with moments like that. And you know, it doesn't feel like they're using, like, it's obviously a rated R movie, and it's pretty violent at points, but it never feels like the violence is just there to be edgy. Like, scenes in this Zack Snyder's Justice League felt like they were trying to be violent just to be edgy, and it didn't actually add anything to the movie. Here it feels like it's meant to reinforce the themes that they have going on, and it's meant to reinforce how shitty a lot of the situations that the characters are in really are, but it never feels like it's over the top. It's kind of comic booky in nature. Like, it's kind of a kooky concept just, you know, from the get-go. So they have some fun with kind of the violent elements, and it's kind of just, it's just meant to be kind of silly. Like, when they have, like, whatever, their guts hanging out or something like that, they look like silly putty. Like, they don't actually look, like, realistic. So I never really, like, I was never super, like, grossed out or disturbed by any of it. Like, I'm a person who's really sensitive to violence most of the time. Like, I'm kind of opposed to, like, super violent things without a need for them. But this movie had violent moments, and it never felt like it was trying to be violent just for the sake of it or to be edgy. And it was also never, like, too violent to the point where I had to, like, turn it off or something. Like, maybe I'm just, you know, becoming more mature and I'm less, like, sensitive to that sort of thing, but it never got too violent for me. Like, I was never really, like, super disturbed or, like, I need to turn it off. Like, it was just... It was fine. It never took me out of the movie. Like, I know it was never like, wow, they just had a violent moment there for the sake of it. But, like, it's just, like, it has all the elements that I feel the Marvel movies are missing. I feel like it's well paced out. The first half introduces you to all the characters. It takes its time, introduces you to the characters and their struggles. You know, the black girl, one of the main protagonists, Nile. Like, I actually like her and care about her as a character, and I get what she wants and what her struggles are. And same thing with Andy, played by Charlize Theron. She does an excellent job in the film, and really everyone does a pretty solid job. I mean, Dudley Dursley's hamming it up as the villain, but believe it or not, there are people like that who are just kind of these slimy businessmen who want to take advantage of these kind of things that they don't understand because whatever they want to get money. Like, as silly as it sounds, like, there are real people like that in the world, as much as we won't like to believe it. Like Doug Ford, Donald Trump, all these people, like, they are pretty problematic, and like this character is kind of like that, even though he is a very kind of conventional mustache twirling villain. But like once again, like even an element that works well in the movie is like the action is well done. It doesn't feel like it's like CGI heavy ugly stuff. Like the sets, the locations, they look nice. It's a really excellent movie, and even the characters, like, they could be seen as antagonists. One member of the group, I'm not going to spoil who, but one member of the group kind of has a little bit of a moment where they kind of commit a betrayal to the group, and he kind of instantly regrets it. But he just had a misconception. Even the character played by Chiwetel Ejiofor in the film, he was Mordo in Doctor Strange. Like, at first he seems like he's kind of a cliche antagonist, but then you understand where he's coming from, and, you know, he just had a misconception, like a lot of characters in the film. And it's just a solid movie overall. Like, it has all the elements that I appreciate. It doesn't sexualize the characters. It doesn't make them like supermodels. It has proper representation. It doesn't take steps back while trying to do that. It's shot like naturally. It's well filmed, well shot. The action is well done. The characters are interesting and investing. They aren't just like jokey robotic machines. The tone has levity without it feeling forced in, like in shows like even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is something that I consider to be great. There are scenes in there where it feels like they forced in moments of levity. They're more sparse as opposed to other Marvel films, but they do feel apparent where they just kind of force some humor in. In this movie, the humor is well integrated into the film and into the story, and it makes sense in light of the characters, but it doesn't like feel forced in to make the tone more light. It's a very dark concept by, you know, from the get-go, once again, but it feels like it has a consistent tone, and it never gets so dark or depressing to the point of not being an entertaining watch. And it also doesn't feel like the action like takes center stage. Like, there are cool action scenes, but they aren't like, you know, they don't take away from the plot. I feel like the main plot and the characters are the real kind of point of investment for me, not even the action scenes. And that's something that you need. Like, I guess this is technically like an action movie, but it doesn't even really feel like it. They're like kind of three main action scenes, but like, and they're cool, but I feel like it's just the plot and everything. It just like it comes together in a nice package. Even the setup for future stuff. Like, there's a setup towards the end with this character from earlier in the film. They kind of come back in like a post-credit scene, and you're like, oh my goodness, how did they get out of that situation they were in earlier in the film? But it does make sense in the context of the film, and it's interesting to learn what happened to them in the future. So it's like, okay, so if they make a sequel, I'm interested to see how they explain that and what they do with that. But you didn't even really need that, but it doesn't make the film any better or worse. It doesn't feel like Valentino Fontaine or whatever showing up in the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier just being like, hey, what's up? I'm here to set up the Thunderbolts or whatever. Like, no, there's nothing like that. Like, it feels just like, you know, it makes sense in the context of the film. It's something that was set up earlier that's coming back into play, and it feels like it sets the stage well for a future film, but nothing else at the end feels like it's dedicating itself to setting up more stuff like WandaVision did. It feels like, you know, it's a nice contained story that it's focused on telling its story. It has all the correct elements to tell it, but it doesn't feel like it's going outside of its bounds. It feels like it's self-contained, and it tells a good story. It has good themes, and it's sad, but it's also hopeful, and it's a really well-done film, and it doesn't feel the need to shove in a bunch of setup to become the next big franchise starter. Like, it doesn't feel like it's just a bunch of setup for more movies. It feels like a well self-contained movie, and if they do end up making a sequel, which it feels like they're setting up to do, I will watch it, because this creative team did an excellent job on this film. And I'm considering bringing in my best friend who recommended this movie to me. I'm considering bringing her in to kind of do a video just kind of discussing and going more in depth with some of the elements of this film. So if you'd like to see that, let me know. But this is just one that I wanted to talk about because I watched it last night with my friend. I've watched it 3 times, and I wanted to kind of refresh my opinion on it. But it's a film that I've barely seen anyone talk about, and I just like one of my buddies, Sickbricks, I believe his name was, he commented on my Lego figures that I made based on this film on my Instagram account, and he said he hadn't even heard of it. And that's the thing, is like, if my friend hadn't recommended this to me, I don't even think I would have watched it or would have even heard of it. But it's actually a really solid movie, and not just a comic book movie. It's like a solid movie in general. I really enjoyed it, and I think that it should be watched. I think it should have a fan base, and now I've been able to invest some of my other friends in the film, so I'm hoping by making this video and recommending it to you guys, it kind of sparks some more fans for this film and more people flock to it, because this is one of the best, movies I've seen in a couple years, and it's one of the best, like, comic book movies I think that's been made, like, in the last little while. Like, it's better than the Snyder Cut, it's better than Wonder Woman 2, it's better than WandaVision, Endgame, Spider-Man, Tom Holland 2, Captain Marvel, all those movies. It's better than all of those. So I recommend it. Like if you're opposed to violence like I am, I obviously would recommend kind of advising yourself on that. That's why I'm kind of clarifying that it's not like a movie I'd recommend watching if you're like a younger person. But if you're not super opposed to violence, like I'm squeamish about violence, but this didn't really bother me. It wasn't like stepping out of its bounds. It wasn't like super gross. It didn't bother me. I never had to like turn away or anything really at all. So I feel like, if you're just kind of meh on like kind of violent stuff, I think you'll be okay. It's mainly the story, and it doesn't feel like the violence is just a gimmick that it's depending on. But yeah, this has all the elements of a solid film, and if they end up making a sequel, I'll definitely be there to watch it. I just wanted to make this video recommending it because I think this film needs more attention. I feel like it needs more fans, and I want more people to talk about it, because I've barely had anybody to talk to this film about. So I just wanted to make this video recommending it. I may do another video going more in depth into the film, having more of a deep dive with my friend who recommended it to me, because she's like the biggest fan of this film on the planet. So if you guys want to see that, let me know. But yeah, I hope that this video has inspired some of you to go watch it. If you have seen The Old Guard, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. What did you think of this review? And if you haven't seen it, are you planning on checking it out now once you've seen this video? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.